everyone. Welcome to the Swexon podcast. I think this is episode 32, if I'm not totally wrong. I'm hesitating myself. Yes, it is 32. 30 exactly. Thank you. We have another episode today that you can see both here on YouTube and you can listen to it on the podcast with our guest, Nomi Gerber. Hi, Nomi.
Hi, Cecilia. Thank you
Straight
so
from
much.
California.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
How is California doing today?
California's doing great. Blue skies, not a cloud in the sky. It's sunny. It's lovely. It's a lovely
So
Jan.
what's the temperature there today? Because like here it's 55 degrees in Texas.
Well, the thing is, I haven't actually adapted to the Fahrenheit culture. I kind of
Welcome to the gang.
yeah, so I mean it's 16 degrees here, Celsius, like normal people. I don't know what that.
Yeah.
But I can quickly tell you that it's let's see, it is 62. There you go. 60,
My mind is going. I'm like, I should know this
yeah.
in my head.
And I
Well,
should know, but no,
so here, you've been here 5 years, right?
I have, yes.
Okay. So how for you, because I know I talked to our guest last week about this. Have you haven't adapted to Celsius, Fahrenheit, inches versus metric?
I've adapted to yeah, no. The only thing that I've adapted to is ounce. I know ounce and I know
Wow, you're
yeah,
even better than I am.
I know that, but that's all I know. I don't know inches. I don't know Fahrenheit, and yeah, and I have not really adapted either to the American time. You know how it's like AM PM. It's still 16 or 20 or
You going on the 2400
I,
hour clock
the rest
there?
world time is what I call it. Yes, they call it military time here, but I just say the rest
Yeah.
of the world time. So yeah,
Well, for me who works in healthcare, we're using the military time. So for me, it's not a
because
problem at
it makes
all. Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Because
So
it makes sense.
yeah, barely not using anything that has to do with AM, PM.
Very nice.
Rarely. So,
Yes.
so Nomi, who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah. Who are you?
Who am yeah, who am I indeed? I am Nomi Gerber. I am from Stockholm, Sweden, born and raised. You might notice I don't have an accent. It's because
No.
right, my parents are American, so I grew up speaking English in the house. Um, my
Sweet.
my parents moved to Stockholm in 1975. My dad got a job. And my brothers and I were just born there, and we were raised in an American household, but in Stockholm.
So like we had when I grew up, we had like home language. Did you
Yes,
have that going in school too? So
yes,
you didn't forget? So you had
exactly. Yes. Even though we still spoke it at home, like we spoke English at home, we still had English as a home language.
and
And
those for those Americaners who watch this, it's kind of like you have an extra curriculum just supporting your native language. Because
right.
my mom tried to get me to have English as my home language, but it wasn't qualified because my mom was fully Swedish Danish speaking, and so was my grandmother and grandfather.
Uh,
So I never got it, and my mom was upset about that for a long time.
could you have Danish though? Would they allow you to have?
I had nothing.
Wow.
I just
Just had
followed the regular curriculum. Yeah,
oh,
I wasn't a special kid, you know.
oh, you are super special, Cecilia. Look where you are now.
Exactly. Look where here I am in Wills Point, Texas,
You
huh?
made it. Yes. Great.
So,
Yes.
like, I know that you've lived both in Spain and Israel. Tell
Yes.
me about that.
Well, Spain, I was there when I was about 19, 20. So it was in my younger years. It was super fun. I lived in Seville, which is the capital of Andalusia, which is
Ooh.
the southern region of Spain. Very, very cultural experience. I went there to study Spanish, like particularly to study Spanish. And I lived with a Spanish household, and I studied Spanish 5 days a week. But I, of course, as you might know, and as a lot of people who are listening who live abroad, when you live abroad in a foreign country, you tend to kind of find your little cliques of foreigners. you know, so you don't really necessarily always integrate into the culture per se. It's more of like you're in the culture but on the outside of it, kind of looking in.
Yeah, watching in. Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, so that's kind of how it was in Spain as well. I met a bunch of Swedish girls, and we hung out all the time. And then I had an American friend, and then so it was a very English Swedish experience rather than Spanish. But we did study it for 5 days a week, so I did get a bunch of Spanish as well.
So you
Um,
do speak Spanish today, or have you forgotten the language?
yo hablo un poquito de español, sí, yo hablo.
Jo, men visst, då går vi på svenska istället. That's what I say, because here we have a lot of Mexicans here, so everybody is like, habla español, and I'm like, oh, jo, pratar du svenska, danska, norska, nej, franska, nej, okay, let's do this in English, okay, we got this.
Let's do the international language now.
Exactly. So,
Right.
so, and they look at me like, yeah, I speak 5 languages, none of them is Spanish, and I do not intend to teach myself that either, so we're good.
Well, here in California, it turned out to be very useful to have
I
Spanish
bet.
as well. So, I mean, that's great. Not, I don't speak it fluently. Let's just be clear. That was not an attempt to, fluent. I can speak conversational, very basic conversational Spanish.
Well, it's
Uh,
more than I.
yeah. I mean, I never spoke it fluently, and I have forgotten quite a bit. And when I moved to Israel, my brain went, okay, well, now we need to access that one foreign language in our brain. So I started spitting out Spanish when I was Hebrew. And then it was so crazy because the transition was very weird. I would create sentences, I would try and speak Hebrew, and it would come out half Hebrew, half Spanish. Or I would conjugate the verb in Hebrew in a Spanish way. It was just, my brain was just not having it. And then eventually Hebrew started taking over because that was what I was speaking. And then Spanish just kind of, got sent to the back burner. And now they're both on the back burner because I don't speak any of them.
So I gotta ask you this. What language do you think in? Do you think like me? I'm thinking in the language I'm supposed to speak.
It's very 50-50 with Swedish and English, but now that I'm living in the States, it's probably more English. But I do have conversations with myself in Swedish when I'm thinking about things or doing stuff, or I do try to access the Swedish, so it's still there. But the Swedish is fluent. The Swedish is a part of my identity. So the Swedish I still have, but I do. It's not as fluent. Like it doesn't flow as it used to.
Well, I can tell
So
you
I do
living
need to
here for
practice them.
13 years. Yeah, but as I said, it's like living here for 13 years. I don't speak Swedish that much anymore since after my mom died.
Right.
You lose it faster than I lost it faster than I thought I would. And I was like, oh Lord, I'm glad that I have some Swedish friends that I speak to and
Yeah.
keep it alive because I was like,
Yeah.
I read books in Swedish.
No,
That is how I keep it alive. I read a lot in Swedish, which I
no.
enjoy.
I have one book that I just asked my father to send me. It's called Folk med ångest, People with Anxiety. And I saw it.
Mhm.
The only reason I bought this book is because I saw it at Costco in English, and I was like, "Oh my god, I want this book in Swedish," but I've never
Yeah,
learned. I'm working on it.
yeah.
We're-
It's kind of interesting how easily you forget a language that you've spoken for your entire life. That was my native, and still is my native
Yeah.
language, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you have the same experience when you're tired. I mix match the language. It can come out in like every other words in Swedish, every other words in English, and whoever I talk to, they're like,
That's
"Is
how it was
that
for me.
supposed to be something?"
I I don't do that with English or Swedish, but I do that with Hebrew or Spanish. Yes, it is just kind of
It's
when
just
yeah, it
brain freeze or something.
yeah, brain farts. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So you lived in Israel. You got to tell me because you told me here earlier. You lived there for 3 years,
Yes.
and how come you moved back? You got to tell me that because it was for me a little bit hilarious.
Oh, so I was there for 3 years, and about a year and a half in, I met my ex boyfriend, my ex husband actually, and he's a full on Israeli. He's very, very, very Israeli, and we moved to Sweden. Um, because I was kind of tired of Israel and I just wanted to go home. And so he came with me, which was great for me, but not so much for him.
As I said before earlier, we talked a little bit, and it's like Sweden is quite a small country tossed up in the north, and people don't know a lot about Sweden. They have all this anticipation about what Sweden is, and then they mix it up with Switzerland. We've heard and seen that all about over and over again, right? Um,
Nobody makes
and this might be, I might be so wrong in this, but this is just me, so don't hang me, don't shoot me for it. But Israel for me seems to be a little bit more international country than Sweden is, but yet
definitely.
I'm like, an Israel coming to Sweden, what a culture shock.
It was.
Like just
And
the weather, we
I was
can just the weather.
he came in October. Out of all the months to come, he comes in October, which is the beginning of hell.
Yeah, for all our American friends, how is the weather in Stockholm in October, November?
And
Rain,
it just gets worse. It's just worse.
cold,
Rain, gray, cold, and it just gets
dark.
worse. And then for the next 8 months, that's what you have. It's not like he came in like April when everything started getting light again and warm. No, he came at the beginning of the hell period. Like, you just don't move to Sweden in October if you're coming to the country. So that was just, mistake 101. Let's just not.
Don't do that, guys.
Sweden, don't do it in October. Move, anytime before or after, because at least you'll be closer to the end of it. Just don't move in the beginning of the gray, horrible period. Well, I'm telling him it's gonna get better. Just wait. It's gonna be the most magical period of the summer you've ever seen. It's gonna be amazing. Everybody's gonna come out of their shells. It's gonna be awesome. And of course, it was the rainiest the rainiest summer in 100 years.
Did you warn him about our midsummer tradition that we are dancing around a cross
Yeah.
with two rings and like frogs and God knows what we are?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's an upside down phallus symbol. I warned him about the frogs and
And violins and yeah.
and he's a musician too, so he was like, "What in God's
What?
name is going on here?"
I can just see like we have these traditions in Sweden, the midsummer tradition, and we eat and we dance and we have a great time. It's the best time of the year almost in Sweden.
It's super
But
fun.
but as an American looking into all this, they must think we're totally nuts. And how must it be for an Israel to look at this and just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, very much so. He was confused, but it was fun. It was fun. He's relatively open-minded to new things. So, well, yes, he is.
But what took you to US? What took you to California of all the ways?
So yeah, as I mentioned to you earlier, I actually never really wanted to move to the States. I know a lot of Swedes have this like dream of moving to America, and I just was not one of them. I did not want to move at all. My mom lives in New Jersey. She moved back in 2004, and I have a brother in Philadelphia. So my mom always wanted me to come and join her and move back, and I just did not want to. I was just a strict no. I am not living in that country. But then, yeah, we moved to Sweden, my ex-husband and I, and he hated it. And so he had family here. He had a few siblings and his sister's kids were here. And so he's a musician and he speaks English, obviously. So we just thought, okay, well, let's go to a nice warm place and let's go to where he has family. And so I just thought, well, it's not the worst place in America to move to. And I had all these opinions and judgments about how it was to live in America without actually ever having lived in America. And so I thought, let's give it a try. Worst thing that could happen is I don't like it and I move back, which I really thought was a real option. But here I am 5 years later.
I hear you. I hear you. I
Uh-huh.
was gonna be here for about 2 to 5 years. Yeah, that was 13 years ago. Yeah, right.
There you go. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't all that bad apparently.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. So
Yeah.
coming from Sweden, though you are from an American family, and I believe you've been raised in a quite American way, or in an international way at least. What
Yeah.
were your expectations and about the Americans and living here? And how did they turn out? Has it been as you expected? Has it been better or worse?
It's a good question. I think I think a lot of things have exceeded my expectations. I mean, I moved here in 20 October 2016, so it was right before the Clinton Trump election. So, however anybody feels about that election, that's fine. But I wasn't too happy about the results, and that affected a lot of my stay of the first 4 years here. But I did. It was hard to meet people, and then of course COVID hit, which makes it even harder to meet people. And um, I've I've like I mentioned earlier, I kind of stuck with like foreigners. I have a friend from Canada, and I have a friend from Germany, and I have a friend from the East Coast, and so it has been quite hard to meet people here. I actually a few months ago I had two good friends here, and one of them moved to Canada. That's where she's from, so she moved back to Canada, and so I was like, well, now I'm down to one friend. What do I do? And so I actually put out an ad on Facebook on my little like area. Like my I live in a city called Laguna Niguel, and so I put out an ad on the Laguna Niguel Facebook group, and I was like, I need friends. Anybody want to hang out? I'm 37, and I had two friends, and one moved, so I have one friend.
I'm all alone.
All alone. I need people to help me, and I got an incredible response. It was quite amazing, and I have met quite a few friends through that ad. So
Cool.
yeah, now I'm kind of content. I'm like, okay, I got my little
I can be here for another 5 years.
yeah, I got this. Totally. And then my
So,
friend from Canada moved back, so
well, there you go.
there we
She
go.
missed you, I guess.
Yes, and she missed California, so there
I
you
miss-
go.
I have never been in California though.
Oh,
So
send
now
it.
I got to come and miss you, come and meet you in real
o-
life and see
Open
California, right?
invitation, please. We have a.
Thank you.
I'm sitting in our guest room as we speak, so please.
There you go.
Anyone.
There you go.
Yeah.
So when you meet new people, and of course you don't have an accent, I do. So I'm kind of revealing myself. I'm not 100%, which is not right because I'm actually a U.S. citizen since birth. If you didn't know,
Oh,
but yeah, I'm born in Miami, Florida,
there
actually.
you go. Nice.
Yeah, so I was taken to Sweden when I was 9 months. Anyway, it's kind of revealing that English American is not my first language. I do have an accent, which I'm proud of.
Small one.
You
Not yet.
don't. But when you tell people you are Swedish American, what are people's thoughts and about Sweden? What do they know about Sweden?
Not much.
Do they even know? Do they say it's in the middle of Europe still and
they
confuse it with
they
Switzerland?
confuse it with the chocolate. A lot of people say the chocolate for some reason. They're like, "Don't you guys have great chocolate?" And I'm like, "Yes, we
Yes,
do."
we
You're
do.
thinking of Switzerland, but we actually have better chocolate.
Yes,
They're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right." I'm like, "I know you're right. Yeah, I know, but we have better chocolate.
we do.
We do. We really
Sorry, Switzerland.
fact. We're just. I mean, we
Oh, Marabou, they have all chocolate. Yep. 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 Yep.
best chocolate.
Best chocolate. That's one of the. So,
But
what do you miss with Sweden? Chocolate.
miss. Yeah, I'm really missing everything. I miss Sweden so much. I would love to move. I was planning on moving back to Sweden, and then I met my husband now, my man now, and he's actually from Morocco. So I'm sticking to the foreigner thing. Yes,
Oh, there you go.
but
There
he's
you
been
go.
here. He was 17, and now he's 38. So he's been here for a while as well. But I miss my friends mostly. I really miss my friends. I miss my people. I'm a very social person, and I've worked really hard on those relationships, and they mean a lot to me. And I feel that they. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but I feel like all my friends, their lives are continuing over there, and I'm missing the birth of their kids. I'm missing the growing up of their kids. I'm missing weddings, and I'm missing, like graduations and all these kinds of things. So I think more than anything, I miss. I miss that to the point where it affects me. The other things I miss, they don't affect me in the same way. But that really does put me in a bad mood when I think of it. But other than that, I miss a lot of the food. I actually learned to make kanelbullar, cinnamon buns, because
So now you got to make them and send to me because
sure,
baking is not my thing.
yeah, it's not really my thing either. But I miss them so much. So I just have.
Well, I can give you a little shout out here because I'm going to do something on Saturday. I'll give everybody a hint that look on our Facebook page and website on Saturday because I'm going
Okay,
to do something fun,
I'm excited.
including food.
Oh, yay!
Mm.
That sounds fun.
It has something to do with semlor.
Oh,
No, I am not going to make them. I'm just saying that. Huh?
are you gonna eat them?
Absolutely. Hey, yeah.
Oh my
So we
god!
have this. I'm going to give a shout out to Swedish Sisters Bakery here in Dallas. They are making semlor and
Wow.
they are making cinnamon buns and a lot of other stuff.
Oh,
And
did they make
I,
the cat there?
of course they do. Of course they do.
I'm so
Everything. Like they
jealous.
do
I'm
princess
so
torta.
jealous.
They do princess torta. They do chocolate balls. They do cinnamon buns. They do
Oh,
everything Swedish. Like
oh,
I don't even know
oh
if they do dammsugare. Probably maybe they do. Like everything. But you live in California. You have Bulle Bakery not far from you though.
you know that California is the size of Sweden.
Yeah, but they ship within California. If I'm not totally wrong.
Oh, okay. What are they called?
Bulle, Bulle,
Bulle?
Bulle
Right?
Bakery.
Bulle Bakery. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I looked that
Yeah,
up.
I believe they ship within. I know they don't ship out of state,
Okay.
but they ship in California. If I'm not totally wrong.
I'm gonna look that up because I would give anything for a semla. Like seriously, I love semlor. Oh,
But you know what I do?
what do you do?
Like, because I came up with this idea. My mom had a craving a couple of years ago, so I did a Hawaiian roll. And
Okay.
I just split it in two, put some marzipan in, some whipped cream. There you go, mom. She loved
Yeah.
it, and it's
Yeah.
actually not bad.
Okay. I
It's
like where you're
actually
going
not
with
bad. Yeah, it's not the right bun,
it. Fair enough.
no,
Fair
but
enough.
it works.
But it
It
works.
it
Right.
it gave me a little bit of like
In
some
times of
satisfaction.
need. In times of need, you can ask.
Exactly. So that
Yeah.
is my thing to go to when I can't get. This will be the first time in 13 years I will have a semla.
Oh
Yep.
my God, that sounds
So
really
what you can do
fast.
is basically come down here on Saturday because I'll have three more because I'll get full.
Ooh.
I'm gonna eat semla. It's coming out of my ears.
Far drive are we talking? It's not that bad, right? I can fly there
Um,
in a heartbeat.
I have no clue how far the drive is. I would drive far for a semla.
I mean, that's what I mean. That sounds really awesome.
I know it, and so that is something we don't eat until February. But I won't have time to go to Dallas and pick it up and all that because they're only like they're out on this farmers market every Saturday, and it won't be
Mm,
able to do that. And so I did it a little bit beforehand time. So I'm going to live stream from there.
oh wow,
They don't even know it yet, but they'll be
they're
fine.
gonna be so excited. Awesome,
Yes, so some good credit. So that's what I'm gonna do. So
fun.
food wise, what else do you
Yeah.
miss more than pastries? Because if you go into a Swedish bakery, that's not the same as we have here in US. And
Oh
California is kind of known of having good cakes, but to me it's
mm,
just sugar.
yeah, it's just
It's
sugar.
not just
I did find a European bakery here. Very lovely. I have to say, I have met a few different European people there, sitting and having a fika, a little coffee time, which was just
uh-huh.
heartwarming. But it was very European, so it wasn't specifically Scandinavian or French or this or that. It was kind of They had a little bit of everything, which was just lovely. Great place. But I did also find another bakery here that sells prinsesstårtor, like the piece, like a tårta,
Uh-huh.
which was absolutely amazing. That made me very happy. But something that I
Sweet.
a lot, which I have I'm giving a shout out now to a company in Florida called scandinavianfoods.com, I think it is. I have ordered a few times from them. I got O'boy, which I just really love that. And
So, yeah, for those of you who don't know what oh boy is, it is a chocolate powder that we mix with it's
chocolate,
like huh?
chocolate milk.
Cho-
Mm,
that we mix with milk or water, but I prefer milk
yeah,
and eat it. It's a little bit like
like
we do hot chocolate
yeah,
powder, but it's not the same taste. It's delicious.
it is. And
Yeah.
there's a whole thing going on how do you mix? Do you mix the powder with the milk or the milk with the powder? There's a whole like how
Oh yeah. No, I'm the milk with the powder.
nice, yes.
Yes. So you get the little chocolate
The
clump.
chocolate bumps, yes.
Yes.
And you know what I do? I put banana. I chop up banana and then I pour the powder on and then I pour the milk on and it's just out of the.
Ooh.
It's so good. It's so good. I swear to you, it's just delicious.
Ooh,
It's a
never
great
tried
snack.
that.
Great snack in the middle of the afternoon if you just need something. It's
Because
perfect.
I always like so here's my thing. Here in US, they eat donuts in the morning, right?
Right, which
Uh,
I don't understand, but yes.
Thank you. That's where I was going with this question. I
Oh,
get my chocolate sweet time is around 2 or 3 o'clock
afternoon.
afternoon. I was like,
Afternoon.
that's when I want my donut. That's when I want my chocolate and my sweet, and I'll
Yes,
be happy, girl.
yes.
Is that something Swedish or is it something just me?
I think it's Swedish. I agree because my
It comes
mom.
from the fika.
I think so. I think it does because when I visited my mom who lives out in New Jersey, shout out New Jersey. When I went to go visit her, we had like corn muffins for breakfast, and as I'm sitting there eating this delicious corn muffin, I say to her, "Don't tell anyone I'm eating a muffin for breakfast." And she goes, "So it's a corn muffin?" And I'm like, "Yes, but it's a
A
muffin."
muffin.
And I'm eating it for breakfast, so let's not talk about it. And she's like, but everybody does it. I'm like, still a muffin. I'm still eating a muffin for breakfast. Like that, she just
That's the
wasn't
name of
getting
it.
it. Yeah, and she wasn't getting it. And I think it's because she's American. It's like that's totally fine. But
Yeah.
Swedes, we need to have a healthy, sturdy, hearty breakfast, and then
Yes.
move on to sweets.
Yes. Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks about that because that's
That's
when I could absolutely have my glass of chocolate boy.
yes,
Um,
it's an afternoon.
and that's enough. Then you have your little sweet and
Yes,
keep and it's like I'm done, fine, no problem, keep on going.
exactly. Yes, yes.
But yeah, my American like my partner at work, he always like at 6:30 in the morning, he goes to the donut shop. I have to drive him to the donut shop. He has his croissant, he has his donuts hole and something else.
I can't
And I'm like,
stand that either. No, no,
no.
makes
It
sense to me.
sometimes I do have a pig in the blanket or a kolache, whatever you want to call it, and that's it. And that's basically because I didn't have my shake to the morning or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
just hungry. But other than that, I'm like, no, fine. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
No, I
So
completely agree.
yeah. So if you could implement a tradition, a food, a habit to the US community that they would adapt as something in their life, what would that be?
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Don't think I'm asking easy questions here.
I'm like, what? Something that Americans should implement into their lives from the sweet. I mean, I would definitely say take away cinnamon buns, the American cinnamon buns, and implement the real cinnamon and cardamom buns. Like, I don't understand why this is so difficult. I just don't understand why this has to be a thing. Cinnamon buns with a bunch of crap on it is not a cinnamon bun. It's just sugar with sugar.
Sugar.
It's like as everything else is. I don't understand and why this is like but a kanelbulle, like a real cinnamon
Yeah,
bun.
with pearl sugar.
Oh, it's just
But that's
it's
what I do. Like
perfection.
I buy the those you put in the oven.
Hmm.
Like it's a roll and you cut it up and you put it in, yeah. And then I order pearl sugar, so I don't put the icing on. I put the pearl sugar on
There
instead.
you go. It's all about the pearl sugar. That's what it
It's
is.
all about the pearl sugar.
Absolutely. I bought it on Amazon. There is Swedish
Yeah.
sugar on Amazon, which
Yes.
it's just perfect. Yes. No,
I'll put a picture of the pearl
yes.
sugar in the episode
Nice.
on the blog here. So go to
Love,
the blog
love it.
swexen.net and I'll put a picture of my pearl sugar. And I
Nice.
think there are some other, I have some pictures of cinnamon buns I have done. Otherwise,
Send you
I'll
some.
go,
I can send you a picture of my cinnamon buns that I made.
yes, do that. And you'll
Yes.
see that in the, I'll put that in the post too.
Because they are
Yes.
wicked. Yeah. And I Googled like the best cinnamon buns like in Swedish.
Hmm.
And I got up a bunch of different recipes. Obviously, I just picked one and I've been sticking to it, and they're delicious. It's just
I
perfect.
just have the problem with the yeast. I'm not used to not having
Yeah,
the fresh yeast.
it is an issue. That's something else I would implement. There you go. Fresh.
It's fresh yeast, folks.
Hey.
They will they that will be kind of an aha moment for the Americans how much easier baking will become. And I tried to I
Aha.
was weird one day because I got like I'm gonna try to order fresh yeast from Amazon. I never made it here, so I didn't get it. So I got my money refunded,
Okay.
but yet it was weird.
It's
Yeah,
weird. It's very
yeah,
weird.
I had all these anticipation about making my own cinnamon buns, but the yeast never came. So
I'm just using regular like dry yeast, and it's not working the best, but it's also they're not bad. They're still coming out very good. So my mom, who is an avid baker and a cook, an incredible cook, I asked her some advice for this kind of yeast, and she gave me some good tips. So I'm gonna try it and see if I can't. She said pre-rise the yeast.
yeah, that's what I've heard too. But I haven't tried. I'm not
Yep.
gonna try because no,
Yep.
I'm not that. So another question that is as far from food, but I got to talk about your pets.
Oh yes. Well, how much time do we have? All right. Do you want me to bring? Do you want me to bring in the little lizard?
Yes.
Oh, sure. You can come with me and grab him. Is that okay to
Yes.
bring you with? Come on. Let's go and grab. Yeah. So I have three dogs for everyone who's wondering. I have three incredibly magical dogs who we adore beyond anything else. And then I have a bearded
But
dragon.
everybody has dogs. Dogs too.
Everybody
Y'all
has
know
dogs.
that. Everybody has dogs. But you have
Yes.
something.
I have a bearded dragon. Where is he? There he
Look at
is.
him.
There he is. Okay, let's.
So while she's doing that, you see Nomi's Instagram under her name. Go on there and you'll see a lot of picture of Mr. Worf.
Yeah,
'Cause that's his name.
that's
And
his
I saw him that
name.
he is so cool.
He's my
Look
little
at
dwarf.
him.
He is a very cool little creature. I can highly recommend it to anyone who is thinking about it or doesn't really know what kind of pet they should get and doesn't want too big of a commitment, but still something that just kind of hangs out with you. Bearded dragons. Bearded dragons. He's
Look at that. He is so cool.
he really is. You hear that, Mr. Worf? It's not just me.
No, it's not.
Beautiful tail. He's like a
How
little.
old is he?
He's actually a little bit over a year. He just turned a year.
So how long time do they grow? I don't know anything about those.
I
And I
learned.
say that as a former animal control officer, for goodness sake. Like, no, I have never dealt
Amazing.
with them.
So yeah, they don't. He's not going to grow too much more now. This is pretty much his size. I mean, he's a full grown guy at this point. But what they do become like 10, 11, 12. I mean, they can get up there age wise. So it's kind of like a
Wow.
dog. Yeah, it's kind of like a dog. But he's a really cool little dude. He is He's awesome.
Because
My
you
buddy.
take him with you out on walks and stuff like that, don't you?
I do, yeah, I do. We take him when we walk the dogs. He just sits on me like this, and then we just go out for walks, and he gets his sunshine on. And you see his little beard. That's why they're called bearded
Yeah.
dragons, because he has a little beard.
Oh,
He's a cool dude.
he is so cool. He is
Yay!
so cool.
We hear that. It's not just me. You are a very cool little guy.
He's like, I'm famous now
You're
too.
on a podcast. Look, you're on a podcast. Sit, smile for the camera.
Exactly. Yes. Smile for the camera, right? Right?
That's you, yeah.
That is an animal. I wonder if you're even allowed to have that in Sweden
You are.
as a
I was just
pet.
somebody was just telling me that their nieces or whatever have one. So I think that they're just not common. I think they're allowed. They're just not really that common. As here, they're quite common. Everybody has a bearded dragon somewhere. But
Well, we
but
have somebody, as I told you earlier, we have somebody here in Wills Point who has a goose. And he walks around with his goose in a wagon um, in town, and it's hilarious.
no
It's
way.
super cute. It's
That's
super cute.
that is
So it's all kind of fun, awkward animals that we can have, but it's not often. At least I don't see them anymore.
that is
But
really funny. A goose. I
a
love.
goose, yeah. And then he has this wagon. And this goose is just sitting there.
Just hanging
It's
out.
so cool. Yeah, he's hanging out.
Oh,
And he goes like to huge festivals with this little goose. And yeah, it's the coolest one
amazing.
ever, ever.
Amazing. That
So
is so
yeah.
funny. Yeah, no, that's I would love to take this guy out more like when I go driving, he'll just sit on me and that kind of stuff. But we're building up to it. We're getting there. For right now, he goes on walks with us.
I bet Corona has kind of stopped all that kind of stuff too, to even get out of the door.
Pretty much.
How has COVID affected you and your life here? Coming being in the country for what, 2 years when it hit?
Yeah, pretty much 2 3 years. Yeah, something like that. Well, it affected like our social life. Definitely affected our social life, and yeah, it didn't affect us too much though because we're homebodies as is, and we my ex husband's sister and her family who we moved here for basically they moved back to Israel where they're from. So I lost a lot of like people around me when COVID hit. I think that would probably, and then my friend moved back to Canada. That was a COVID move. And then a few of my customers made a COVID move. So I think socially it's affected us more than anything, which I get.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people it has,
Right.
not knowing. How is California on Omicron? Are y'all going back in shelter over there? I haven't heard about other states than here.
Right. I don't think we're quarantining over here. I think it's kind of staying the way it was, kind of half open, half not. Just okay. Oh, okay.
Tired of being tired of being famous.
Yeah, what's his 15 minutes? Now he's sitting on my lap, which works just. But yeah, I think we've been actually very, very lucky, considering other people. And I have to say, I'm very happy that I was in the United States though for COVID. I don't think I would have wanted to have been in Sweden for COVID. I don't know that the whole not putting on masks or all that. I don't know. I kept talking to my brother and my father and all my friends, and everybody's just wandering around like nothing.
Nothing has happened.
The whole world is closing down, and Sweden's like, no, we're good. And I'm just like, I don't know if I would have been comfortable with that. I think that would have freaked me out a little if I was there. But maybe
But it
not.
all
Maybe
I
not.
think I looking in from the outside of Sweden, for me at least, it looked like they got hit on the second and third wave
Right.
harder than they ever expected. And maybe that was just because they didn't take any precautions in the beginning. But
That's
then when vaccination came, it was almost panic that everybody under the sun wanted and did go and vaccinate themselves, whereas here in US the American people was a little bit more resilient, like what is this you want to put in my body. Even
Yeah.
though a lot of people did it, I think the American people was a little bit more hesitant on doing it, while Sweden basically lined up and said,
Yeah.
shoot me.
Let's do it. Do it
Yeah,
now.
exactly. And they are seem to be, to me, a little bit more proud of doing the vaccinations than the Americans are. I might be wrong. That is
No,
just my point of view, how I have seen it. And
I think you're right, though. I mean, it's about. I think it's over 80% that have gotten double vaccinated in Sweden, and then we're barely hitting 60% here. So I think the
yeah,
numbers definitely show that as well. That they're lining up over there. It's maybe even closer to 90% at this point in Sweden, but here it's still barely 60%. I think so. It
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
shows a big difference.
I have to ask you too a kind of Swedish American international questions. Do you have any
Ooh.
Swedish habits that you brought with you from living in Sweden, like taking off your shoes when you walk in the door?
Always.
I asked
Always.
I asked Frida that last week as well, and it was the same thing. And I was like, is that something that we Swedes will never stop doing?
Because it just makes sense. I mean, it just makes sense. Why would you not take your shoes off when you walk into a home? Especially because it's. I don't know about you guys, but we have full carpet in our apartment,
A
so
lot of them.
I think that's just even more reason to do it. But I don't make other people take off their shoes. I don't know if that's a different thing. I take off my shoes and I tell people do whatever you want
But
when
what
they.
do you do when you're out at other people's houses?
If they leave their
That's a
shoes on,
tricky one.
that's a tricky one. If they leave their own shoes on, then I will leave my shoes on as well, unless I want to take them off. Sometimes I will take them off as well. It
Because
depends.
they're dirty or something like that.
Right, or if people have carpet out and it's raining, or stuff like that. But in my house, I always take my shoes off. We have a big pile of shoes right by the door. Yep.
Exactly.
And my husband, he walks around barefoot a lot, so we're good with that. But another thing that I have taken with another tradition is the birthday train. Do we? Because some people go, "What's the birthday train?" Even if they're Swedish, but it's like when you have a birthday and
Yeah.
you come walk. Yeah, when you walk in singing with presents and the candles and all that. That's a big thing that my brother and I have both taken with us from Swedish culture. We like the birthday train. That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
I think I'm a little bit different because I'm very fanatic with sending out birthday cards.
Okay.
I have my little stack here. This is how well prepared I am.
Oh
Like,
wow.
this is just until April. Like, I prepare a quarter in the time, like 3 or 4 months in advance. If I have your address, and that is something that basically comes from Sweden, because and from growing up, because internet wasn't a thing, so my family taught me that, hey, that will put a little bit more effort doing it, will
Right.
be appreciated so much more. But what I have found here is that unless you tell me your address. In Sweden, we have Eniro, which is a website where you can it's like a Google search for anybody in Sweden. You find their home address, you find their cell phone number, anything public like that. Hell no, here you're gonna ask, and they're like, why do you want my? Oh, sorry, I want to
It's
send you
so
a
funny.
birthday card or a Christmas card.
I just want to send you a greeting.
Just a like greeting or something like that. And they're like, oh.
Oh.
Well, yeah, Swedish friends I have no problem because I just Google them. Dum, 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 I know where
Yep.
to go. There's a
Yep.
site, and I get all their information and their husband and da, 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 da. Nope, that is not
Oh,
public information here.
that
I
is
have to
so
ask.
funny.
Yeah,
And people are very like, no, no, I
yeah,
don't want to tell you. Yeah, that is too.
exactly.
We're gonna put
It's
the
like,
lizard back here.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Bye, Mr. Morph. Worf. So tell me, why was his name Worf, Mr. Worf?
It's Mr. Worf is a character from Star Trek: The Next Generation. If there are any Trekkies out there,
There you
and
go.
we were binge watching Star Trek: The Next Generation when when he was gifted to me. So I threw it out there as a joke amongst other things, and it just kind of stuck for some reason. It just, it just stuck. So
Why
he is
not?
now Mr. Worf, Chief of Security.
There you go.
That's what he is.
Yeah, I'm not really afraid of him though. I hope he does a
no.
good job as chief of security. He wasn't not really intimidating to me, I must say.
The dogs do a better job at security keeping than he does.
Yeah, I bet for some reason dogs are, but if you have a sausage or a steak with you, I guess they're gonna fail in that too.
Fail there too as well. Yep, that's so true. They're a sucker for that as well.
Why do we have animals, huh? That's how it is. So while I have that in my mind, the word of the week.
Okay.
Do you have a good suggestion of a word of the week that we should teach them?
A Swedish word we're talking?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just go with kanelbulle. I mean, we've been talking.
You and I are very much the same because that was.
Because I usually kind of the theme of the podcast. This episode has been
kanelbulle.
So also kardemummabulle. If that one is too easy, we can do kardemummabulle. But
we can do both. We can
do both. Yes. But that's a word that I have taught my man. He knows kanelbullar. He knows bullar, because another thing that I really like is fiskbullar. I order that as well. Fiskbullar with sauce. I love it.
That is okay. So for all the Americans, fish
balls. Little sauce.
That is not what you think it is. It's basically just fish in a ball, a round ball.
They're like little like meatballs, but like fish. They're fish.
Yeah.
And it's in a dill sauce, like a creamy dill sauce.
Yeah. White sauce that you add dill in.
Yeah. And they come in a can, and I order those as well from this company, Scandinavian Foods. So I've taught my man how to say bullar, fiskbullar, kanelbullar. So I would say bulle is a great word.
Bulle. And that's basically a bun or a ball.
Yeah.
Depending on, because if it's a fish ball, it's a ball. And if it's kanelbulle, it's a bun.
A bun. So true. Yes, exactly.
Depends on what you're gonna. The Swedish language that's why I don't teach Swedish, because it's more confusing.
It's very tricky.
Very tricky, yeah. But yeah, kanelbulle, cinnamon bun, that is a must.
It is.
It's like the Swedish ones are better than the Americans one. We've concluded that for sure.
10 times. Yeah. And anybody who's a foodie would appreciate that word, I think. Anybody who gets food and gets the emotional connection to it.
I'll have to put one in a Ziploc bag and mail it to you.
Please do.
The mail service is like, is this any food? I'm like, no.
No, not at all. No food whatsoever.
I don't know.
The dogs are like, I think differently.
They'll eat it with the plastic and paper and everything.
They're like, yum.
Poor dogs. They're like, what kind of drugs are they? It's going to California. Yes, just cinnamon buns. Yeah, right. Swedish ones,
Yes, I think I'm gonna have to go make some kanelbulle after this.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I'm getting all excited about it now.
Yeah, because in the winter time, like around Lucia and Christmas, we have, as if you follow this podcast since last year, lussebulle.
Yes.
Which is a saffron bun.
With a raisin in it.
With a raisin in it. And but that's kind of out of season now. Now we come into the semlor, which is February.
Yeah.
But our cinnamon buns you eat all year round.
Oh,
because
they are phenomenal.
They are.
The cardamom buns are also just perfect. They just
yeah. So that's all I can say.
So that would be my word. Yes.
So we go with kanelbulle, cinnamon bun.
Yes. Nice.
Now we made everybody listening to this and watching it. They're like, yeah, now we want to
Time for a
know.
fika.
Fika, and it's awesome time for fika
It really
too.
is. It really is. It's
So yeah,
afternoon. Yes.
with that, Nomi, thank you for being my guest. Anything you want to add or want the audience to know or say?
This has been a pleasure being a guest on your show. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for reaching out and answering my little whatever ad you want to call it, ad
Yeah.
whatever.
I was like, oh, absolutely. I was like, right to you right away. It was really fun.
Yes.
Exciting.
Yeah, and we're always looking for guests and the more the merrier.
Cool. I'm gonna get my brother on here. You'd enjoy my brother. He's a cool guy, and he'd fit right in here. The rabbi. It'd be perfect.
That'll be awesome. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice.
And yeah, we're going to be back next Thursday. Um I don't know if it's going to be another guest. I think that's the one that we're going to do the kickoff to the Olympic Games.
Ooh, already? It's
That I
already.
know. Yes, it is because
Wow.
I
How
know the
exciting.
Olympic Games are coming up. So there won't be a guest next week, but we're going to talk all Olympic Games.
Very
High
exciting.
expectations for both teams.
Yes, I was gonna say, do you cheer for America or Sweden? But both probably, right? I mean,
Like if Sweden meets US in a game,
hmm,
I'm more Swedish just because everybody else here is
fair enough.
cheering America,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if Sweden loses, it's not going to be the end of the world. That's when I'm like, I'm kind of American too today, you know.
Go
Uh,
America.
exactly. I'm like, yeah, no, not too bad, not too bad.
Oh, that's
Um,
good. That's good.
you
Nice.
know, there are sports where US is dominating, and you know that Sweden is just no, ain't happening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cheer on US in those, and then you have some sports where you know that US is like, why are you even having somebody here? Like, no,
Right.
and those I become very Swedish in. So, um, but overall, I think I'm more of a Swedish cheer
Okay.
simply because they're undercomers. That they're
Right.
like
Yes.
always,
We're the underdog. So
yeah,
yeah,
underdogs, and I was like, no, so I'm gonna be there, just
absolutely.
supporting from far. How about you?
Totally. Yeah, I always go for Sweden. I have such a love for Sweden, and I'm always, yeah. I feel like Sweden is my home, and then I'm just living abroad everywhere else. But Sweden's my home, so I'm
You're an
always just.
expat.
I kind of am. I'm an expat who's, I don't know what I am. To be honest, my parents are expats Americans. I'm expat Swedish, and then we're just kind of crossing paths. So, but yes, I cheer for Sweden. But I mean, of course, if Sweden's not there to be cheered for, then I will cheer for the states or whomever is closest. I also cheer for Spain and Israel. I have those two places also.
like yeah, my mom is Danish. Danes does not do anything in the Winter
Oh,
Olympics, okay? It's nowhere to be found.
yeah.
I haven't even looked up how many they send this year, but they don't do well on snow.
Oh
I
wow, that's so
could though.
great.
My dad was a Norwegian, and they actually won the medal count in Pyeongchang in
Oh,
2018. So I
really?
could step over. Yes, did you know that? Because I looked it up this
Did
morning when I
not
wrote the post,
that.
post today. That US was fourth on the medal count.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
you would
wow.
think Norway won the medal count in Pyeongchang in 2018. I know. So I'm
Wow.
like
So
that
Norway.
little part of me being Norwegian. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like,
That's so funny. I had no idea. That's
yes, yes.
amazing. Okay.
So
So
yes,
we
Sweden
stand some
came on
chance.
like seventh, eighth place,
Okay. That's
something
not
like
bad.
that.
That's
So
not bad.
what me? I love the Olympics, summer as winter. Um, and what you can see that there are so many more sports in the summer games than the winter games. And in the summer games, US got over 100
Oh
medals.
wow.
Yeah, while here in the winter games, they only got 24.
Oh, okay.
So there's and the reason for that is basically because there are not as many sports in the winter
There
game.
you go. All right. That makes total sense.
But what I do read is that Sweden have expectations to exceed the former Winter Olympic
Oh,
Games medals counts.
okay.
So yeah, the Swedish Olympic Committee has a lot of high expectations,
Oh,
and
really? Yeah, I'm sure they
yeah,
do.
and Team USA is sending the most experienced troop ever.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay. So high
so
expectations.
yeah, it's a lot of high expectations.
A lot riding
Yeah.
on it. Okay. Well, let's see how it goes. When does
Yep.
it start?
February 4th. So
Okay.
not this Friday, not tomorrow, because it's going to be broadcasted
Right.
on Thursday. So not tomorrow, but next Friday.
Nice.
Yes. So
Right.
that's why it's getting there.
Cool.
I should have taken off work for the Olympic, just sitting and watching
Yes.
that.
Yes.
But I
Sure.
didn't think about that in time. So yeah.
Bummer.
So next week is going to be Olympic Games. That's what we're
Fun.
going to do.
Love it.
So we have a lot of fun stuff going on during the Olympic Games that we did for the Tokyo Olympic Games too.
Okay.
So it's
Fun.
going to be 2 fun weeks.
Nice.
So
Very cool. Well, I'm glad I
yeah,
got on here right before that then.
absolutely,
Thank you so much
absolutely.
for
Well,
having me.
thank you so much, and for all of y'all, have a really good rest of the week, and we'll see you next week.
Enjoy.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Nomi.
Thank you for having me. Bye.